Hello, everybody. Who's here? Welcome, Tish and Catherine and Susan and and, and Susan and Tish and Marlene. Hi, Mark. Hello. I've logged on slightly late because I was. Hey, Tariq, welcome. I was trying to get my mics working, and the one component, oh Natalie, has run out of battery. I charged it this morning, but I evidently left it on during the day, so that doesn't help very much. So there may well be wind on the mic. I'm sorry about that, but there is nothing I can do about that. Okay, but thank you everyone for joining me. It's been quite a race because I was chatting to Ruth this morning, and then I was like, oh my God, I haven't researched for the tour tonight. I chose the route yesterday. So then I spent some hours today researching it, and I've been to the airport to pick up a friend who's coming to stay, and the plane was late, so I've just rushed here, and here we are. And so yeah, really lovely, hi Ruth, that you've joined me. Sorry in advance about the sound. There will be wind on the mic because my receiver or the whatever is not charged. But let's get on with it and get the show on the road. How do you turn the camera around again? Oh, there we go. So yesterday, last week rather, I think I ended on that building there. And I can't believe it, I'm still on the Lindengracht. But I do believe that the Lindengracht has become one of my favorite streets in Amsterdam. And gracht because it was a canal. It's been filled in now, obviously. And there are three very charming little buildings here, and there's something quite different about these buildings. Oh, the weather is amazing, Susan. It's 28 degrees, that's 82 in Fahrenheit. It's a bit windy, I wish it wasn't. But hey ho, there we go. But look at these three little buildings here. There's something pretty unusual about them in that they're what's called in Dutch dwarshuisjes, sideways houses, across traverse houses, because check out, you can see the roof. I mean, normally it's always a gable front, but here we have a roof parallel to the street, so that's kind of unusual. 27 in Halifax, cool. I love that, it's a very good temperature, that. There's a couple of entrances here. Lovely old lettering, isn't it great? OL, so Openbare Lagere School, the public primary school number 113. And just 2 tours away, or 1 tour away, I forget now, I ended up with the public primary school number 111, which is over there. So it just gives you an idea, you know, of how many schools there were in the area, because how many kids there were in the area. Oh my God, 25 in London. Tariq always feels like about 30 in London, doesn't it? By the way, I'm going to be sniffling. The grass pollen is off the chart at the moment. It's unbelievable. And next door here, we have the Bank van Lening. Now this is really quite interesting, I think. In the 1600s, there was a concern that poor people were being extremely exploited when they needed a loan. So the city formed the Bank van Lening, the loan bank. And it was based in the center. So I will talk about it in more detail when I show you that original building. But it was also had a branch here, because this was the workers' district. You can see up at the top of this building, perhaps you can see it says 1902. And the bank, or the branch of the bank, was housed here from 1902 all the way through to 2008. And you know, it's still going as a bank. And began 1614. And it was run by the city. You had to have been a city alderman to work in the bank. And it was basically a pawn shop, really. I mean, you take jewelry or gold or silver, or even in those years, clothing. which was quite a valuable thing. Oddly enough, clothing, and you could even pawn clothing. And then you could, without being exploited. Nowadays, you can't bring them clothing anymore. I don't know, maybe if it's like, they'd probably take Marilyn Monroe's dress that was stretched by Kim Kardashian. But you can still pawn valuable items, and you pay an interest of 0.85% a month. And the item has to be redeemed within 9 months. So yeah, there's that service still available for needy Amsterdammers. Yes, PAWN, thank you. Okay. And the building's used now. It's the Ouder and Kinderteam Centrum West. And that means the parents and children's team, which is basically a place where you can go if you need family help or advice, whether it's for pregnancy or workshops or social workers or psychiatrists or psychologists, whatever. So it's quite an established thing here. Excuse me, sniffling. And then next to it is a really remarkable building. So I told you this was becoming my favorite street. Sorry, I'm just trying to blow my nose, hang on. Ugh. Okay, let's just have a look and take in this building, which is quite unusual. I'm going to zoom in and show you a bit of detail under the eaves here, and you can get an idea of the style. And then look over here, I'll walk down a bit. Like every Amsterdam building, not every, but so many Amsterdam buildings, it has hooks to hoist furniture and stuff up the outside, because that's just how we roll. But a lot of sort of detail on the brickwork. Brick expressionism is a big thing here. Okay. Now, this building over here was an experiment, basically. It was the Bouwonderneming Jordaan, named after the district. And last week, what I spoke about were the corridors on the fortress slums, yeah, where people were living in terrible conditions. On the north side, which is what we're looking at now, of this street here, there were 17 of those corridors leading to slum fortresses. So in 1895, a philanthropic experiment was embarked upon to build public housing without government support, and that's what we're looking at now. And they chose names of different trades to put on each sort of housing block. I'll show you a few of them now. In the steenhouwer and the stone hewer, there's like a mason, I guess. A grondwerker is a laborer. In the loodgieter, this building was like the plumber building. Not that it was full of plumbers, but they just wanted to represent the trades in this area. And the stucador is the plasterer. And the smith is the smithy. Hello. And in the schilder meant painter. In der timmerman, and timmerman is a how do you say it? A carpenter. And in den metselaar. You know what? I forgot to look up what metselaar is. Somebody please tell me, what is a metselaar? Natalie, help. Okay. In den metselaar. Wat is een metselaar eigenlijk? Hopefully Natalie can let us know in the chat. So, this was built without public support, initially with funds from tobacco planters. Now, I find this quite interesting because this was definitely helping Amsterdam's poor, and with the proceeds of labor of enslaved Africans. Oh, thanks, Tish. Enslaved Africans, because any tobacco plantation was run with enslaved labor. I think it's quite an interesting example about how even the poor in Europe were direct beneficiaries of the slave trade in that way. But anyway, there were 131 slum homes here, which were replaced with 92 pretty modern units. And the architect, this guy Philanthropic, and he has a plain or square named after him in the north of Amsterdam, where you can go on wonderful cheese tastings at the company Kef, where I did a cheese thing with Eric a while ago. Anyway, he was the architect. And after he built it, he actually even visited the residents to find out what they were happy or unhappy with. And it was run by supervisors, this block. And they would actually inspect the flats to make sure that people were living in a decent manner, that there were no older boys and older girls sharing a bedroom. That was a big no-no. Laundry was not allowed to be dried in the living room. Can you get it? Okay. And lodgers were prohibited. There was no storage of stuff allowed in the stairwell, something I wish they'd learned in my building. And this was a very important step, this building, because it was, as I said, it was just done as a private initiative. And what they found is that this was not the solution. Couldn't be the solution. Because of the 131 families that originally lived in the slums, only 9 could actually afford the even low rent of these buildings. Now, learning that was a very important step in the development of the social housing system that we have now. And this building is now, I'm not going to tell the whole story, but it's now owned by Emera, which is a social housing company in Amsterdam. Okay, so it's a really important building and a very beautiful building. And right opposite here, we have look how beautiful it is. Oh my goodness. You know, just this wonderful spring. As Susan's saying the window cleaner should get danger money. You would not believe. Oh, I'm going to just have a peek in here as this lady goes through. Hi. I was just about to talk about the Zuikerhof. Yeah. You can wait 1 second. Yeah, I'm not coming in, don't worry. Okay. So yeah, the Zuikerhof, yeah. It's from 1667, and it says so handily on the door, which is great. And it was an almshouse development, hence the name Zuikerhof here, and that literally means sugar, but it had nothing, well, it was named after a person whose last name was Zuiker. There were 19 houses here. And there were some restrictions. You had to be a Protestant widow or single woman over 50 years of age, and then you could live here. Probably, and I'm not sure, but probably for free. And there was an issue that all of these Hofje places, they had regents running them. And the regents had to be remonstrants, because that's obviously what a Mr. Suiker was. And the people living there also received an allowance from the Hofje development, from the funds that went into setting it up. So that was for fuel and unforeseen costs. And that was quite a common thing. Anyway, let's just see where we are. So that's looking into the sun, so you probably can't quite see so much. Let me show you these instead. With the window cleaning, what they do in buildings even much higher than these is that there'll be a guy standing on the ground floor with an extendable pole that extends all the way up to there, with a hose pipe hanging from it, and then a water supply to the hose pipe. It's really, really, really amazing. I mean, it must be so heavy and quite difficult to control, but that's how they do it. People do like their clean windows here. I clean my own windows. I can kind of hang out the window and clean them. I'm not going to pay somebody to clean my windows. That's a luxury I don't go for. But this is ready for Donna. Now, I know Donna's probably not watching because she can't watch live on Mondays because she has her grandson to look after, but I know she watches later in the week. And I was telling her I'm going to show my favorite Indonesian takeaway restaurant, which is just over here. And it's been my favorite for ages. I live right on the other side of Amsterdam, but I still come here to get takeaway. And it's called Terang Bulan. Show you. So, Terang Bulan. There's the website. And you can get individual dishes, but you can also get a whole tasting menu. Oh. And so what I always go for is the rice table, which I love. Susan's saying, how do the window cleaners stay dry? It's not really a power washer. They don't put huge amounts of water up there. But here, like, check out this one. A rice table for 2 people for 29 euros. 29 euros for 2 people, and you get all these things here. So 2 types of beef and chicken. You can choose whether it's spicy or coconut or soy. And it's really lovely. And what I like about it also is the story. Because there was this guy, and he had a very successful Indonesian restaurant in the 1970s. No, Natalie, they don't deliver to Enschede. And he wanted to spend more time with his family, so he shut it down. He shut down his successful business. And he opened this. And they're open Monday to Friday, 2:30 in the afternoon until 8 p.m. And they provide wonderful food at reasonable prices. And he gets his family time. So I think that's really kind of wonderful. So back to the Lindengracht. MacRepair.nl. Well, if you're silly enough to have a Mac, you're going to have it in the repair shop all the time, aren't you? I clearly don't have a Mac. Okay. Ooh. Sorry, that wasn't very manly. I just about stepped over a charging cable of an electric car. I'm not used to those suddenly ambushing me. Right, so I realize we haven't actually done a Gable stone yet. How remiss of me. Oh, there's something else I wanted to show you as well. I haven't shown you yet on the tour. Which there's a lot of brick mosaic work done in Amsterdam, and that's something I've never spoken about the buildings. But often underneath these sort of Renaissance-y arches above the windows, they have, as I say, brick mosaic work. So typically they would use red and yellow bricks and make these patterns, and you get so much of it in this area. It's very cool. And right at the top there's even tiles. I know that the zoom on YouTube is not really good enough to show you the detail in those tiles, but the detail's there, and it's very colourful, which I can certainly see from in real life. Let me try and zoom this damn thing out again. How difficult that is. There we go. Okay. Excuse me. Okay, so back to the first Gable stone, and over here, and we spoke about tobacco earlier, and here it is. So what we have here is a black man with a tobacco leaf, and then tobacco baskets, and 2 bales of tobacco. So this wasn't here originally. It was a workers' district. It was actually the other side of town. It was moved here much later. But there are all these references all over Amsterdam to Amsterdam's past and use of enslaved labor, because people didn't see that as something to I'm just going to leave the car here because I can feel its wind on the phone, which is not going to be good for you. You know, I mean, one of the things that really underpinned the success of the Dutch was, of course, the Dutch transatlantic slave trade, and they were responsible for the enslaving of 500,000 Africans and forcing them to work on plantations, and that would be typically tobacco, sugar, incredibly unnecessary things. Now, the slave trade was abolished here in 1863. It's quite late. But actually the last Dutch colonial territory to abolish slavery was in, wait for it, 1910. So, yeah, that's quite late in the day. Now, I know this wonderful lady who has done a lot of research on Black heritage tours here. And, oops, let me just try and get this so it's not too wide an angle, because we've had it before where it's a bit fisheye-ish. Is that a bit too fisheye-y? Ruth, what do you think? Do you think the angle's too wide? It's difficult for me to tell sometimes. So, oh, it looks good. Okay, fine. I won't worry about it then. Yeah, so Jennifer does Black heritage tours, and what I like about her is there's certain symbols in the city, references to slavery, and then some people say, well, that should be taken away, and she's saying, oh my God, we've tried for such a long time to get people to talk about this. Now they're talking about it. Please don't take the reminders away. You know, we need them there so it remains part of the conversation. Okay, there's a little thing I want to show you up here, there's so many of these cute little streets in the Jordaan district, by the way. This is Karthuizerstraat. I know, it's a mouthful. And cute little gardens behind some social housing, no doubt. But what I wanted to show you is a little bit of street art that I found, because these tours are absurdly detailed, okay? And I love it because I learned so much about the city. And then I saw this bit of street art here, and I photographed it, and then I Googled my head off, and eventually what I found out is that it's by a collaboration of two people. It's called Faile, F-A-I-L-E, but pronounced Faile, and it's current. These two guys from Canada and the US, Patrick McNeil and Patrick Miller, and this particular stencil of theirs is from 2012, and I have no idea what it's about. Okay, it says everything under the sky, saved, and then there's an eagle, and then there's a woman wearing it looks like a Native American headdress, which I understand is incredibly inappropriate, and because that's not how they would be worn. And on the wings of Faile. So I have no idea beyond that. I already looked on the internet to try and find out more about it, to give it some meaning and context, but I couldn't. I failed. But it's from 2012. Yeah, and it's doing quite well. And there's so many bicycles here, I can't even get through. Okay. And then I found this wonderful little lion. Leaves stuck under my shoe, hang on. This doorbell, check it out. Isn't that pretty? And I guess you kind of push that. I'm not going to do that because I can hear people inside, and they probably wouldn't welcome a camera being pointed in their face. Okay, but I don't like to retrace my steps that much on these tours, but I want to go up this way, back onto the main street. Oh, hanging baskets. I went and bought a hanging basket this morning. I had a really busy day, and then I decided to make it even busier by going to the Amstelveld, where on Mondays they have a wonderful plant and flower market. And the plants are amazing. And what's lovely about them is that they're all sold outdoors in a market environment, in the environment in which they'll be growing. It's like in the blazing sun. And that means that they take really well. Because they're used to that environment. So I'm having great success with these plants, I must say. Okie dokie. Now, there's a church over here. And for a decade, I've looked at this church and wondered, like, what church is that? It's so tucked away in a corner. And I never really knew. And now I'm doing this Amsterdam thing by street. So I was walking down here on Sunday, looking at the stained glass windows from the outside. And I could hear stuff happening inside. So I went and I found the entrance, which is around this side of the building, on the Lindengracht, which are the rope walk canal, for those of you who remember from last week. And the entrance is over here. And there was a service on the go, so I went in. And there were no pews, which was interesting. There were a whole lot of people standing. And there was a whole lot of double crossing, like the Catholic cross you do in front of your body, but like twice, which I hadn't seen before. And there was nice kind of music and like a dialogue happening, and it was all just so peaceful and lovely. And I thought, I wonder if I can take pictures of the stained glass windows, and I realized that would be incredibly inappropriate, so I never did that. Then I waited. There were people coming in and out, and I waited outside, and I asked somebody, hey, I read some information in the entrance, and it said, please don't take photographs without permission, so I'm glad I didn't. And I said to the person, it was 11 a.m., hey, what time does the service finish? He was like, 12:30. I was like, oh my God, okay, well, I'm not waiting. And what I discovered is that this was the Orthodox parish. So it's the Orthodox church in Amsterdam, okay? And it's the Orthodox parish of St. Nicholas of, and I'm not sure how to say it, Myra, M-Y-R-A. And it was started in 1974. And now there are 20 different nationalities who are members, including Russians and Greeks, Romanians, Serbs, Georgians, Eritreans, and Dutch Orthodox Christians, and then obviously many more also. And up until 2022, it was part of the Moscow Patriarchate. Now they obviously left that. I say obviously because of the Ukrainian war and invasion. And now it's part of the Ecumenical Patriarchate, which is based in what they call Istanbul, which I think is a bit, I think you meant to say, they call Constantinople, which hasn't been Constantinople for hundreds of years, but anyway, based in Istanbul. So that was really interesting to learn. And the windows looked great. And it was actually, I sat outside for a while just enjoying the service as well, just the music and the kind of the singing things backwards and forwards, and it was fascinating, really interesting. So that's the kind of thing you could do on a Sunday morning, you see. And something else completely new for me is the Gietershof. Oh, I'm sure it's terribly noisy on the phone for you, I'm sorry. If there's wind on the mic. Gieters, so what does that even mean? Well, a gieter is a foundry. So it's a place that would make metal, metal objects. Oh, wow, how cool is that? Look at that wonderful effect. From the shadow into the reflection. I love it. Anyway, Gietershof, so it's a foundry, it's a factory. And there are about 6 or 7 buildings here. And just trying to... So a whole factory complex, actually a makeup factory. And it went bankrupt. And it was squatted by artists. I'm not entirely sure when. Something like the 60s or the 70s. And then in the 1980s, can you believe it? The artists bought the whole complex for 60,000 guilders. That's nothing. Nothing. And now it's really cool apartments. And artist studios as well. So it's just quite remarkable. You know, I don't know. I'm try and make that a bit of a wider angle. There we go. I was Googling, obviously, and I came across a sort of a 10-minute thingy of somebody, probably one of the original artists, showing around her apartment and explaining about the history of it. Beautiful place. Okay, more little back streets. We're in Tichelstraat. Tichelstraat, it's a variation of the word tegel. Tegel meaning tile in Dutch. A couple of things to show you here. This is one of my favorite little types of balconies. It's a Dutch company. It's called T42.nl for Netherlands. So T42, as in these balconies that you simply just bolt onto the outside of a building. Very much after the building has been made. You just got to really trust those bolts. So yeah, you see them all around town. And another reference up here this is a reference to Indonesia during the colonial period. So Batavia is the name that the Dutch gave to what's now Jakarta. And that was their trading hub in Indonesia. And the symbol there, the coat of arms, is the coat of arms of Batavia. So it's an orange shield and a vertical sword with 2 wreaths, out 2 like laurel branches making a circle. And just the last thing I'd like to show you here. Sorry, I just wanted to show. Thank you. Okay. There's just some people as their home, but I'm just going to focus in on this. So this is something which you see on a lot of buildings. It's called a gaper, a G-A-P-E-R. You could almost say like a gaper in in English. And it's a reference usually to the fact that medicine was sold here. And here's a turbaned figure with his mouth open and a pill on his tongue. And this is a reference to the fact that Eastern medicine was much better than Western medicine. Well, certainly because they used opium as well. And medicine with opium is presumably always much more fun in the 1600s. So that's a sign often of that is a pharmacy of some sort. Okay, let me just try. There we go. Leave them in peace. It's such a beautiful evening. Obviously, everyone is outside their houses, and the last thing they really need is a camera stuck in their nose. And here's some lovely purple flowers, which I know from last week is ceanothus. So thank you everyone who let me know that these are ceanothus. Now, okay. Last topic really is the Karthuizerstraat Monastery. Used to be located here. Now, this was probably the oldest monastery in Amsterdam, built in 1392, and it was well outside the city. Well outside the city walls, and monks lived in the monastery as a community of hermits, which, how do you even get a community of hermits? Get out of here. The whole thing about being a hermit is you don't have a community. But there were monk cells, and there we go. They had like 2-story cells, and they would have like upstairs for praying and meditating, and then downstairs for working and maybe growing vegetables or something like that. there was a code of silence, so it was a silent order, and that was broken once a week when everyone went for a wandeling. Wandeling in Dutch, it means like a wandering around the place, a walk. Okay. And the monastery was supported by gifts from the community and things like money and food, works of art, and then they would even give them, and I did laugh my head off when I saw the translation of this, they would even give them bags of limestone and piles. But of course that meant pile foundations, of course. Sorry, brings out the child in me. Anyway, the monastery was really beautiful, but it was destroyed during the Reformation period and the wars of religion here. And then in 1650, as you can see, some detail above the door here, a hof here was built, and there's a reference here to a house where you had widows. Okay. Now, this was for widows and their children, but also fairly unusually for the time, it was for unmarried mothers with their children. Now, I'm not going to go inside. I just, I think I probably can by rights, but I'm not going to because I don't feel it's right. Because there are people sitting in there. It's a beautiful little courtyard. They're going to be sitting outside, and they're not going to want somebody sticking a camera in their face. But what I did do is I went in there on Sunday, and I took a photograph of it, so I can show you what it looks like inside. I'll just go in the entrance door. There's no reflection on the screen. And here is what it looks like, just down there. I can hear their kids playing down there and stuff like that, and babies. So there's some pumps in the middle, and then there's flowers all around. It's lovely. And so I just need to also the other way. And there is some detail up there on there, just as you get through this corridor above the exit of the corridor, and it's two fishermen in a boat. And this is one of the creation myths of Amsterdam, that it was founded by fishermen, who found a place to be safe for the night. It's a silly story. But anyway, it's been a hof here since then, and obviously it was for widows or single ladies without children, and then slowly over the centuries that changed, and now it's... Sorry, I'm just trying to manhandle my tablet back on my phone. Now it is run by a housing association. And these are the housing associations that were formed ultimately as a result because it became clear that even with private initiative, like we saw at the beginning, that was never going to be enough to provide decent quality, affordable accommodation for the poor. And this was the workers' district of Amsterdam where people were poor. Gardens of the monastery originally. And, oh look, you can go up on the steps here. It's kind of so New York-y. Check it out, without a stoop. But how cool is that? Now, these gardens here used to be there used to be gardens that were part of the monastery here, okay? And then from 1602 to 1860, it was a cemetery. And then in the mid to late 1900s, it became a children's playground, and it was rumored that the children sometimes found bones and played football with human skulls. So I don't know if that's true. I very much doubt that happens anymore. But yeah, that's, people often wonder, is this a family area? Very much so. you know, even though it's gentrified a lot, it's still very much a family area. Not working class anymore, but a lovely area for it. So I'm pretty much done with the info, but I want to walk down here because, as you know, I like to start the next detailed Amsterdam where I finished the one before, and I'd like to start the next one down there. So we're down a little street called Boom Street, Tree Street. This is exactly how a Dutch house should look, or would look in the olden days. People making little lace curtains to hang down the bottom part of the window so that people holding gimbals and phones can't see inside and destroy their privacy. Oh, Marlene, thank you for staying. And I do need to do another little quiz, of course. Not a quiz yet. This tour. So let me just look and have a little think what the quiz should be. Okay, I know what the quiz question could be. Right at the beginning of the tour. So those of you who already have a slicey, just hold back, because the person who gets the quiz question right gets a slicey. Okay. Yeah. Oh, look. Oh. Sorry. Neighborhood library here in an old telephone booth. It's very cool. And I saw the person restocking it on Sunday, and I said, hey, it's always locked. And he went, no, it isn't. It's almost never locked. It's locked. Okay. It looks locked to me. Oh, no, it's not locked. Oh, great. It just has the lock there looking locked. Anyway, did want to show you, this is one of the sweetest houses I think I've seen in the area. Check it out. Look at this absolutely delightful little freestanding house here. And how wonderful it must be to call that home. Anyway, the quiz question for whoever wants to win a slicey is, at the very beginning of this tour, I showed you 3 houses, tiny little houses next to each other, and there was something unusual about the roof. What was it? What was unusual about the roof? Oh, I know you know, Marlene. No, they're all sloped. Something unusual about the actual roof that's different to other Amsterdam houses. So that's not slates, no, but different to these houses here. You see, you had to be here at the beginning to know. That's part of the thing about this, about the. Well, then I'll open this up to everybody, because maybe somebody wants a second slicey, and I could send a quirky, weird slicey. So go for it. What do you mean angled front, Jackie? I need Jackie to just, I'd like you to clarify what you mean by angled front. Yeah, well, Hillary got it, but I think Jackie needs to. Yes, parallel to that. I'm going to go with Jackie. Sorry, Hillary. I do apologize, Hillary. I know you want one, but I think that Jackie was kind of on it there, and it just needs a little bit of clarification. Jackie, if you'd like to contact me, in the description of the tour is my email address, and you can just give me an address that I can send a slicey to, and I will get one winging its way to you. Wherever you are in the world. And yeah, the red door, there was a... Anyway, so we're just coming up towards, that's a pleasure, Jackie, to the Noorderkerk. And it's over here, so I think this is a really good place to end. And then I will start here next week. So thank you for joining. I'm going to head home, and I'm going to have, I got this guest staying, as I mentioned, And we are having, let me just turn around so you get the church in the background. We are having a cheese fest. A couple of days ago I bought like 8 different cheeses, Dutch and French and Belgian cheeses, so that's our dinner tonight. Again, I know, I do them quite often. I mean, why not? Anyway, another circumslicey. Jackie, yes, if anybody, anyone who wins a slicey, if you were Jewish and you wish to have what Ruth and I call a circumslicey, then I can make a slicey with a kippah, a little hat on its head for you. Okay, well, I look forward to seeing you next week. Have a lovely week, everybody. Thank you for joining me so much. Bye-bye.